Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Supply Chain. So, we're going to kick things off with a question. Today's guest is a top 20 asset light broker with a dedicated fleet and distribution services. So, how many omni-channel shipments do they fulfill every single month? What do you think? Well, let me know your guesses over on social and keep listening because I'll let you know at the end of the show. So today I'm joined by a people first logistics company founded in 1999. They've grown from 2 trucks to nearly 3,400 trailers and 4 million square feet of distribution space nationwide. So who are they? Well, it's ITS Logistics. So ITS Logistics is one of North America's fastest growing asset-based modern 3PLs, providing solutions for the industry's most complicated supply chain challenges. With a people-first culture committed to excellence, ITS relentlessly strives to deliver unmatched value through best-in-class service, expertise, and innovation. And it's Josh Allen, Chief Commercial Officer at ITS Logistics, that is joining me for the show today. Now, Josh began his career dialing for dollars at a small brokerage back in 2002 and has grown within the industry from grassroots to senior leadership. Using a holistic approach, Josh combines technology, supply chain expertise, and leadership skills to ensure sustained growth and profitability for ITS. So now today, Josh and I will be talking all about ITS Logistics, what they do, how they've evolved alongside the industry over 25 years, the logistics challenges and opportunities shaping 2025, and how ITS are providing strategic capacity and smart solutions for the industry's complex needs. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Well, thank you, Sarah. So glad to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, it's great to have you on the show. Now, ITS has been around for over 25 years, and you've been around for most of that time as well, starting small, rising up through the industry. So I feel like we're going to have a lot to talk about today. I'm excited. So let's just dive right in. Now, ITS was founded in 1999 and has grown from 2 trucks and 2 drivers to becoming a leading logistics provider. Now, can you give us a taste of the ITS evolution? Because, looking through your history, it became a little bit clear to me how well ITS adapted to market changes, right? You expanded your services with demand, invested in technology and innovation, and it's all obviously served you incredibly well. So talk to us about that growth and how ITS evolved within the industry.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Listen, ITS has always been about smart, customer-driven growth. No acquisitions here, all organic, just explosive, consistent expansion over the last 2 decades. And really what it comes down to is we've grown by solving real problems. Customers don't just stay with us, they expand with us. I could go on for, hours about the countless customers who started small with us and now trust us with either their entire supply chain or maybe one mode or one geography. But it's astounding the fact that they just make us part of their business. So we listen, we execute, and we scale our customers to drive our growth.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, right? Because a lot of times we are looking for partners who can grow with us. You want to start with somebody, you want to be able to grow together, but also that's what really establishes the trust within the industry. And everybody is looking for that trusted partner to be able to grow with them, but also know that they're going to innovate and create as things move forward and evolution and things change. I mean, things are changing all the time, right?
That's right.
All right. So talk to me about what ITS does now. Who are you? What do you do? How do you help your customers?
Yeah, you talked a little bit about it early on and kind of humble beginnings with a couple trucks and that sort of thing. And so if you fast forward to today, we're now a powerhouse asset-light company driven by our drop fleet with 3,400 units. Plus, we've got a nationwide drayage network, a regional fleet, and a multi-node distribution network with almost 4 million square feet of warehouse space. So customers don't just need capacity, they need efficiency, visibility, and control. And ultimately, that's why they come to us. And then, finally, and this is a little bit of of an appeal to where we are as a market, but to me, transactional freight brokers just doesn't cut it anymore.
Right.
That's why our brand of logistics, our capacity stack, and our people are helping us win every day.
Yeah, I think relationship wins in this industry, right? It has to be about the people. As much as we talk about technology, we talk about services, we talk about AI because we're talking a lot about AI these days. The focus is still on the people because it's the people that really make everything happen. And it's the relationships that we have with each other that moves the innovation forward in this industry. Would you agree?
Yeah, I love that. And then I would also tie it back to a comment you made earlier, which is the trust component.
Hmm.
So trust to me is the currency that gets you to those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And, trust with all of the technology and the data sharing and, the bad actors that seem to be coming in with that technology. We kind of don't talk about that as much as we should, but it's a really, really important part of doing business, being in supply chain, trusting data, trusting partners, trusting relationships, trusting platforms, trusting technology. That's really what it comes down to. Now, you have a range of different services, which you just mentioned. Do you have an ideal customer at all that you can kind of share with us? What does that look like?
Of course. And I think really we have three, Sarah, and they're fairly specific. So let me break them down for you. So the first one is we do extremely well with large scale, complex needs, high demands for flexible, high density capacity. That's where we thrive. So if you think about it, those are going to skew towards your Fortune 500, maybe Fortune 1000, or maybe customers that are north of $1 billion in annual revenues. But distribution, transportation is a critical component of their business, and as such, they need big time partners. Second one is, and this really ties to our distribution network, growing brands. So whether that's e-commerce driven, whether that is more traditionally driven, but omni-channel needs, those types of companies turn to us because we're built for flexibility, industrial distribution, e-commerce, B2B, B2C, D2C. We make distribution seamless, whether it's, again, e-commerce, retail, industrial, we do it all. So that's the second one.
Before you
The
go to the
third,
third one,
yeah,
did you say E to C?
D.
Oh, D to C. Okay. I thought you said
Yeah,
E
yeah.
to C. And I was like, what does
No,
that mean? Can you tell us all?
yeah, I would love to. If we can make up a new one today, that would be absolutely
I
fantastic.
don't think
And,
we need another acronym in supply chain. I mean,
that's fair.
I put
That's
together
fair.
a dictionary and it's like 107 pages. I don't think we need any more acronyms. That's why I was curious. All right. So who's
OMG.
the third one?
The third one. So interestingly, it could fit in the bucket number one, but ultimately we're an importer's dream. So if you think about the capacities that we have, it's the makeup of a premier manager of inland freight. So whether you're, mid-market, Fortune 500, if you need worldwide port to door visibility and execution, we're the partner you want.
Hmm. I love the words importer's dream. When I was doing
Yeah.
marketing for our 3PL, I wish I would have come up with those words. Because I think that's true, right? I think when we've
Yeah.
got all three of the magic pieces, right? I think it's relationship, trust, partnership. It really is sort of that magic wand. It's really that dream of what an importer is looking for because it just works.
Whether you choose to have a collection of providers to execute each node or each function of the import process, or you find a partner like ITS that has the capabilities across all of the modes, it's your choice. But to me, seems like everything under one roof makes a whole heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it seems like that's sort of the dream for importers, which was what you
right?
were alluding to with those words. All right.
Right?
So there's been a lot of ups and downs over the last 25 years. Where are we now? Like, what do you see across the market? What are some of the key challenges? Maybe some of the opportunities for your customers? We talk about this all the time, but I think that challenges and opportunities really vary per sector. They vary per ideal client. And I'm just curious to see what you're seeing in the market and what clients are talking to you about right now.
Yeah, let's rewind and talk about kind of Q4, and then let's talk about Q1 and just have some thoughts about 2025 in its entirety. So Q4 was a dogfight.
Yeah.
It absolutely was. The demand is still soft compared to previous years and typical peak environments. It's soft. We also saw cautious spending, inventory corrections, all made it tough. But thankfully for us, we bucked the trend and we were still up 22% year over year. So
Wow. Well
fantastic.
done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Yeah. The bright spots, there were some, despite the fact that I think the macro is pretty soft. I think auto, retail, healthcare had some resilience, but overall demand was pretty light. Q1 is fascinating to me. And it's because it's that time of year, right? It's bid season. We started having conversations about it in Q4. Everybody's scratching their heads. When is the rate environment going to increase, and how are shippers going to budget? And so now here we are. Those budgets have already been created, by the way. So I find that to be very interesting. But now we're doing bids against those budgets for shippers. And so what's everybody going to do? And to me, it's complex because you have a lot of carriers out there and logistics service providers out there that are still in scramble mode and stay alive mode. And so, guess what? For all their hopes and dreams of actually having a rate environment go up, their actions say something different because in this bid environment, we still see providers throwing in lower rates. And so ultimately, it's a very complex environment because we all know that's great. That's great for the award season. That's great for some early projections. What happens when the market shifts? And so I find it to be extremely interesting. I don't think the market is broken. I just don't think it's thriving yet. And so to me, the question becomes who and how are folks positioning for the future?
And that's interesting because sometimes we get so caught up in the crystal ball syndrome.
Right.
Right? Like, what's going to happen
Right.
next? Can you predict what's going to happen next? And I honestly, I think we got complacent with forecasting and planning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because I think pre-pandemic, it was fairly easy. And now we've had so many disruptions, so many things happen over the last couple of years that really disruption is sort of where we are living in our day to day, whether that's sort of across the industry. And people are scrambling. They want some sort of sense of this is where it's going to go. This is what it looks like. This is what you need to prepare for. And I just don't think we're in that environment anymore. And, you talk about carriers or brokers putting in lower rates. That's kind of been the nature of the industry and the beast since I've been in the industry, and that's about 25 years. So I don't know if that's ever really going to stop. It might change due to the season, right? Instead of Q4, maybe it's Q1 like we're talking about. But one of the things that you mentioned earlier is capacity. Where does capacity stand at the moment? Is it a challenge? Is it an opportunity? What do customers need to be thinking about around capacity? Because I think that's a really big one that we need to sort of touch on as well.
Yeah, let's unpack it. First of all, if you want to paint this with a broad brush, let's say that from an overall market standpoint, look, there's still too much driving capacity out there. There's just no question. We still need more capacity to exit the market, or maybe even shift to focusing on niche markets. I mean, you can still deploy drivers and resources into different modes. So I think that's kind of interesting. the niche markets, whether it's refrigerated and frozen or different types of refrigerated capacities, I think those are the first ones to tighten up, especially if we have any impact into the housing market and we see flatbed activity and construction activity drive some of those typical kind of tailwinds in the spring. I think that could be interesting as well. But then if you think about capacity through a different lens, and something that we were very passionate about over the last really couple of years in growing a different type of capacity, and that's our drop fleet that customers are, responding to very, very favorably because it adds, flexibility and, some type of fixed capacity to their environment. But they are moving closer to partnerships with organizations that are capable of offering that hybrid capacity more so than your typical drive in, you call, we haul type of capacity, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I want you to talk a little bit more about that. I was going to bring that up later on in the conversation, but I think now's a really good time to talk about hybrid capacity. And you use those words, like you said, when you're talking about brokerage. Can you just define it a little bit more for us as far as like, why is that hybrid? Why have you coined this term?
Sure. So really, it's the best of both worlds, right? You have our asset that is driven by an organization like us at ITS, and so capable of providing the resources for shippers to be able to maximize either their floor space, warehouse, speed to load, labor as a percentage of overall product and execution. There's a variety of needs for the drop trailers themselves. But by us being able to provide the access to that capacity, plus the third-party capacity associated with overall small trucking companies across North America, it's powerful because you get the service and then you get the benefit of the line haul typically being very, very efficient, at least from a cost perspective. Service plus efficient cost equals a win. At least that's our shipper community telling us what it looks like. So top tier brokerage backed by stability of one part asset and then a highly vetted carrier network that has sincere consistency in it. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, and you can contract and expand. And that's actually music, I
Right.
think, to a lot of customers' ears, right? Because some are seasonal, right? They don't have
Correct.
consistent shipments on a regular basis all the time. And also, especially with e-com and retail, you just don't know how much is going to be ordered and how much needs to be necessarily shipped out or ordered on their part, et cetera, et cetera. So I love that. And this kind of brings me to my question about your approach, because I feel like it's your approach that sets you apart. And I really resonate with this because if anybody knows my story, they know that I do things by thinking outside of the box. Right. I do things by talking to the community. Like you talk to your customers and find out what it is that they're looking for and tailor those solutions to make sure that you're supporting their efforts, not only as your customer, but even their customers. You're like your customer's customer as well. And I think you talk a lot about going beyond traditional logistics services, as you said in that example with hybrid capacity. And I think it's important, right? Because you're a strategic partner, you embrace the challenges that they have. So, can you talk to us about that approach? Like, how do you work with customers to solve challenges, deliver value where they need it the most?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's several things here, but the first one is we typically start our conversations with prospects and customers, and it goes something like, "What's your biggest supply chain challenge? Where are the failures? Where are the
Right.
opportunities for success? And what is absolutely keeping you up at night and you need to solve?" And so we simply say, "Give it to us. Let us solve it." That's how we get in the door. And then once we get in, we deliver. So if you take it a step further, and a lot of times you'll hear me refer to this as the, transactional brokerage and you call, we haul. Look, our solutions and our organization go well beyond that environment. And it kind of starts with the people and the training and the commitment to those folks and their careers and empowering their futures. But then to do that, you have to invest, right?
Yeah.
It's not free.
Mhm.
That's time, resources, energy, et cetera. So that's kind of investment number one. And then investment number two, the capacity itself. If we're talking about this hybrid capacity and we say to customer XYZ, hey, what's the biggest problem? And they say, well, we need significant capacity, but we've got to have drop trailers on both sides of the transaction. Oh, what to do? We've got to go make investments. We have to make a
Yeah.
commitment to, their future and our success. And so it's a pretty big deal. And then, thirdly, you've got to make investment in technology in order to power all of that. It's one
Mhm.
thing to be able to execute, but can you communicate? Can you bring visualization to the environment? Can you bring nimble and speed of communication to the environment? That's really unlocking sincere power. So we find the problems, we fix them, we make smarter, stronger supply chains for the long run. And frankly, the proof is in the results. In our business today, we have very specific customers, and we have specific customers where our brand of logistics works very well. And it typically goes something like this, Sarah. We get in the door, we solve a few problems, and then we start to expand and we start to have conversations about solving other problems. And so typically we see year two of that life cycle with the customer, 27% growth.
Hmm.
And then in year three, it becomes explosive and it's north of 61% on a
Wow.
consistent basis. So very, very powerful, lots of stick to itness, but a lot of work and a lot of investment to make it all happen.
Well, and they stay with you for the long term. Like we were
That's right.
talking about growing together. I mean, you actually have the proof, right? The proof with the
That's right.
percentages and what that looks like. And you can't do that with one or two customers. You're doing that with a variety of different customers who have grown with you and have shown that percentage of growth. But I also think that one of the things that you do is also make it easy for them to do business with you. And I think that is part of the success in how you grow with your customers. I mean, you prove that by talking about hybrid capacity. You prove that by talking about your network, right? Your transportation network that your customers have access to. Now I want to talk about your distribution and fulfillment solutions because we mentioned at the top of the show, like I think it was what 4 million square feet, was it?
Yeah.
Which is quite a big footprint. And I think I read that you're able to reach over 95% of the US in 2 days, which is like Amazon like results. So, how do your solutions help customers keep up with the rapidly changing e commerce landscape?
Well, I think you touched on it already. Our ability to touch the population as fast as heavenly possible is kind of number one. But listen, we have a different approach from a distribution standpoint. All of our facilities are multi-client, so they're built for speed. We know that e-commerce moves fast, and so do we. We know that strategic locations matter, so we have put them in the right geographies to be able to touch all those people in 2 days. We are looking further to actually even speeding that up in the future by potential expansion into the east and the southeast. By the way, we're looking for anchor tenants to help us in that expansion endeavor. But
Oh, there we
listen,
go.
it just will make us stronger than we are today, which is actually pretty darn good. But back to what I said earlier, it's not just e-commerce. It's industrial distribution. It's e-commerce fulfillment. It's returns management. It's all those acronyms we talked about at the beginning. But the point being, it's nimble, flexible, and fast. And frankly, we are not a one size fits all type of provider. Middle market customers that need customization, we can deliver. The multi-client facility scale with demand without the bloat. Pretty cool.
Well, and that's what people are looking for, right? They're looking for customized solutions because I think what we've also realized is not everybody's business is the same. And they
Right.
want to make sure that they can work with a partner or a provider that can help customize and tailor solutions to their needs and what they need, but also what their customers need. Now, what you mentioned earlier about technology, I want to touch on that because let's talk about the technology that sits behind your solutions. What are those all important trends of agility and visibility? What does that mean to ITS and what does that mean to your customers? Like I ask about visibility all the time and it means different things to different people. So I just want to touch on that and see what it means to you and what it means to your customers.
Yeah. So today we have a variety of visibility tools, but really our first customer facing tool that we put out on the market is called Container AI. And as we talked about earlier, that capability of providing foreign port to domestic door visibility is pretty darn powerful. And the thing that people kind of gloss over really quickly is is the final mile in that endeavor. So many folks, will agree with me and they'll probably head nod and that sort of thing when I say that the drayage component to that whole transaction is kind of the black hole. We're capable of facilitating that execution with visibility connected to the overall transaction, which is super, super cool. And customers gravitated towards us just for that. But then if you get further into our tech stack, I think every growing logistics organization um, comes to battle with the idea of, do I build my own TMS? Do I not?
Oh,
Do I build my own WMS? Do
well, we
I
did. That was a long time ago, though.
not? So we we too got in the club of let's go build our own TMS. And look, it's fantastic. It allows you to control. Yes, it's expensive. We talked about investment earlier, and this is one of those things that I think people take for granted, but it's a significant investment in time, energy, money, etc. But what we've built inside our proprietary TMS, pretty fascinating. I would challenge anybody to go out and look in the marketplace and see if you can find a product that will deliver with some customization the ability to facilitate, our velocity of type of OTR business, truckload business, plus drayage. So when we start talking about inland freight management and the technology that powers us, I would challenge anybody to suggest that they have a competing product like ours capable of facilitating those modes and then tying to the visibility platform that we have today. So pretty stinking cool. The last component beyond just traditional OTR freight brokerage management as well as drayage. Oh yeah, don't forget, we got 3,400 trailers to manage in that platform as well. So again, the need for investment and customization and the build to be able to control that network was highly needed in order for us to be efficient for our customers. And so that's why we did it. And it's paying dividends every day.
Well, and you're customizing solutions with the technology that nobody else really has in the market. Because if they're building their tech stacks by partnering with other platforms, you're using their technology and you're actually building something that's proprietary to ITS and proprietary to your customers that they're not going to find anywhere else. So that actually makes sure that they work with you for the long term because they want your technology.
That's right. That's absolutely right. There's you make a good point though. There are a variety of whether you call them uh, plug-in products that service a very specific data need. So, think security products like Highway and GenLogs. And so we have those integrations as well that, just continue to make our product even more formidable. We have
Awesome.
our secret sauce of freight management plus their secret sauce of security management embedding.
Yeah, and we need to do that too, right? We need to partner on certain aspects. But the TMS portion being something that you've made a focus to customize for what you and what your customers want, and then figuring out what other platforms you can partner with and do that data sharing just brings the best of both worlds to your clients. Now, I want to get into my favorite part of the conversation, and that is painting us a picture of how you worked with a customer. What service did they use and what ROI or benefit they saw from working with you? I mean, you gave us some percentages earlier of how much they end up working with you sort of year over year. I want to hear about the ROI and benefit to your customers of working with you.
Sure. So let's call them retail.
Okay.
We have a retail customer that had a massive initiative, new model, new business inside their organization, lots and lots and lots of eyeballs on them to make it work. They started down a path of building their own technology.
Hmm.
And when they started looking at all the integrations that they were going to need in order to get what they wanted out of foreign port to door visibility plus
Mhm.
cross docking, truckload, LTL, execution out the door of the
That's so
DCs, they're
much.
like, this is going to take us 3 years. We're never going to get the business off the ground. We're not going to get the internal funding, and then we're toast.
Right.
And so they came to us and they said, well, what do you got? What can you do? And we said, well, we've got proprietary TMS powering the whole thing. We've got container AI over the top of it to provide your visibility. And they're like, whew, we could be in business. Let's do a few things from a customization standpoint and let's get in business. So fundamentally, in their opportunity, we were plug and play for them.
Nice.
Instead of them building their own solution, we flipped the switch and we had a fully functional network for them overnight. That's how fast it got to work. And so then they could just get into the business. They could
Yeah.
get into the business and start pushing volumes, which they did. They had a lot of success in Q3 and Q4, and I expect their business to at least quadruple in 2025. And so that's another example of us
Wow.
growing for the long term with a customer by providing the right solutions. Absolutely fantastic. So in the end, speed and agility matters. We eliminated the complexity for them so they could focus on scaling their business. And it was predominantly e-commerce. And I've never asked them how much we saved them, but here's what I know. We're their partner for the future.
But here's what I know. You saved them 3 years of
That's true.
heartache and testing and maybe going down the wrong path for
That's right.
something and coming
That's
back
right.
and trying to do some more with technology. So, I mean, that's a lot of time, energy, money, and resources that you save
Yeah.
them right off the bat that they could actually, turn key and start using you. All right. Well, I want you to get out your crystal ball. No, I'm just kidding. But I do want to talk about the future a little bit
Let's
because
do it.
that's where we want to focus on. I know there was a lot of conversations recently at Manifest happening around trends that are going to shape 2025. What do you think that we can expect from the year ahead? And, what does ITS have in the pipeline that we can look out for?
So, from a technology standpoint, well, let's talk about the macro and then we'll talk about, ITS. I think we all know that there's an arms race going on in utilizing, different forms of AI to power the business more
That
effectively,
is an
right?
understatement. I mean,
Right?
$4.4 trillion industry. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah. It's crazy and it's buzzwordy and it's almost laborious to actually go through all of the different companies that are in this arms race to produce similar results. But we have a view on this that may be a little bit different than others. We believe that there is an arms race of utilizing AI and advanced technology to replace the human in this business, or at least some percentage of humans in this
Okay.
business.
Yeah.
We don't buy it. We don't buy it
Okay.
at all. We are firm believers that we can further enhance our people and we can build better and brighter futures for them by making them successful utilizing some of the tools out there and some of the emerging technologies, or even our own brand of AI infused in our TMS to make them even better and more capable in their careers, as opposed to dismissing them for the future in favor of just having bots do transactions on a daily basis.
Well,
We
and
just
I
don't
think
buy it.
that's smart because we need to have both, right? We need to have the technology component to empower the people within this industry because people are very, very important in this industry. The relationships, like we
That's
talked
right.
about at the beginning,
That's right.
and we there needs to be us working together, sort of a collaborative environment between the technology and the people. So I think that's smart.
Yeah, I think that there are all sorts of really cool emerging niche offerings powered by AI that I think are really cool. And we, as well as others in the industry, would be smart to incorporate those strategies for the future. You know, if you think about mode and route optimization that have been have been pushed around for at least all the time that I've been in the business. Nobody's absolutely solved it perfectly, but utilizing those advanced technologies to solve some of those problems, huge. Secondly, in demand forecasting, but I firmly believe that all shippers could benefit from additional horsepower helping them in their own demand forecasting, and then ultimately building more efficient and capable supply chains. And then finally, I have lots and lots of thoughts about AI, predictive rates, and how people trade in this environment in the future. And I don't think we're going to solve it in 2025, but I do believe that there is far more intelligence to be gained and execution prowess to be gained through utilizing technology associated with rate, price, cost, et cetera.
So I think that you need to come back on the show and tell us about that because we don't have enough time today to dive into that and talk more about that topic. But I think it's really interesting, right? I think that's kind of where the industry is struggling to find fit and figure out where it's going to work in the future. But there's a lot of really smart people who are testing things out and putting investment in, just like ITS is in technology to figure out what that looks like. So I can't wait for you to come back
Let's
and
do it,
share with
Sarah.
us what that looks like.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, with issues ranging from disrupted trade flows and pricing pressures to more potential labor disruptions, supply chain managers will continue to navigate risk and complex challenges in 2025. So, ITS wants to be your strategic partner. They have everything you need to maximize your supply chain, from container management to network transportation to distribution and fulfillment, all driven by operational excellence, technology, and the best people in the industry. So, did you have a guess at today's big question? Well, at the top of the show, I asked you, how many omni-channel shipments does ITS fulfill every single month? Well, it's a huge 400,000. Wow, that's a big number. With over 35,000 truckloads per month and over 3,600 dedicated transportation assets, they really are helping customers keep their shipments moving. If you'd like to find out more about them, you can check them out at its4logistics.com. A massive thanks, Josh, for joining me today and to the team at ITS for making this episode happen.
Thank you, Sarah. This was great.